Hey everybody, it's Booksy. I'm coming with you on December 9th for an ATER update. ATER is in a very interesting spot right now. Tomorrow is probably going to be a red day. We had a lot of, I would say, negative news. The stock's probably going to hide behind that negative news. Also, 4.5 region is your max pain for tomorrow. So I would expect probably going to end up right beneath it, just based on call to put ratio. We may bounce on the bottom of the stock here. It's possible, but that's kind of where I'm imagining ending up tomorrow. I think they're going to do everything they can to sort of pin it right here. If we went all the way down, we might come back above. So the reason that I have this diagram set up this way is because this is the fractal pattern for this stock. This stock likes to go, likes to do its major dip below the wedge. I call this the first part of the U, and then there's a second part of the U. And the first part of the U is typically the tail. All right, now I know I've got 3 here. There's a reason for that. You can ignore this one over here for just a second. This one right here is the first part of the tail. It's a very clear and distinct break of the wedge. And these don't count either. And I don't want to get into this too much right now. I think I talked about these in a previous video. These dips are significant because they act like liquidity tests, but they're not important to what we're talking about right now. So in this region, you would expect to see it come above, which it did. And that's also a confirmation that this was indeed the real break. Whereas this one, it breaks down, but it never comes above and settles above it. This indicates a breakout. Now, this is essentially a bull trap, all right, to put it bluntly. But it's also like a test of sorts. The algorithm has a certain way it likes to run through the motions on this stock. And one of those ways is that it's going to, if it can, right, pass through the wedge again, create a bottom, it'll come back over the top, and it'll run. Now, you might be saying, where are you getting that information from? Listen, all TA is looking at past patterns, whether that's using a certain kind of indicator or using just your eyeballs, right? And nothing in the stock has to repeat. When something repeats, like, I don't know, 3 dozen times, then you should probably pay attention. And that's the case with ATER. It repeats dozens and dozens of times, all right? I don't have all of my diagrams pulled up. I only have this one. This is not a full-on proof of what I'm saying. Trust me. But no, it really does exactly that, right? It passes over the top and then the bottom. So this breakout right here, this fractal is going to be pretty helpful in the days to come. If it loads, it's not loading for some reason. My internet's been acting really wonky. So we get this region above over here, and then it dips down, and we get the bottom region. There you go. Thanks for showing up, buddy. Now, the challenge here, so we're right here. You see this? This is basically what happened today. We went right back down to the top of the wedge, and probably drawing it a little too high right there, maybe more like this, okay? But you get the idea. So after it goes down, nothing really exciting happens. And if you look at this. This was actually a full trading day. So it essentially just dropped straight down. Maybe it was a gap, hard to say. Could have been. And then you have sideways trading all day. And then the next day, it runs back up all the way through and retests the top. Now, does this have to happen this way in the current time frame? No, it does not. I've tracked a bunch of these things. I've been looking at these fractals for a while, especially in this region. A lot of them, they actually pass into the wedge before they break out. So that would look more like coming down, testing this lower region. I don't think it has to come down as far as this for a double bottom, but certainly if it did, that would not surprise me. I just don't think it's 100% necessary based on the fractals, okay? Nothing else. So if you were to look at other indicators, you might see that maybe there's a good reason. Maybe it's like an RSI, is blown out or something, and it needs to get to reasonable levels. And those are all just, stocks that reflect the market action anyways. So everything is just price. All right. So the reason why I drew it this way is this would be the rattling around for a day, right? And then we would come to Monday. Actually kind of drew this a little off, but I really do think it's just going to drop. And then I think Monday, you could see it rise back up through the wedge all the way. That's a pretty big move. If news continues to remain kind of negative and sentiment in the stock market remains pretty negative, I would not be surprised if we spent like a whole nother day or so, and maybe by Tuesday, we're ready to move back up. Tuesday or Wednesday even. But yeah, I do think it's more likely that it's going to come all the way through in a move. But if it didn't, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Now, I know that anyone can get up here and say, this is what's going to happen, yada, yada, yada. Look, I'm not saying that I predicted all this stuff perfectly. I did not. I made some mistakes for sure on how I interpreted this movement right here. I've called out a couple bottoms that were not right. The final bottom I called out was spot on, right? But it was like trial and error that got me there. And that to me is not guesswork. That's just how you learn things, right? You test things out, you create a hypothesis, you test it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, what was wrong, right? What could I have done better? And what am I missing? Okay, and in this stock particularly, I'm starting to grasp more fully what it is that this fractal pattern actually is doing, and why this even these little gator snaps are actually filled with like the macro fractal, right, for this whole stock. And that's kind of incredible. I talked about that in another video. But yeah, at that point, then I would expect there to be a bit of a, I know Trader Girl in our Discord is calling for like a rug pull, and I haven't looked into that. She might be right. If it were to happen, it would probably happen here. Maybe we get like a double bottom or something. It's just really abrupt. Okay, and then we would eventually break out. My hope is this is acting like just the way this is set up, it's so perfect that it acts like a head and shoulder. And I made a discovery today on AMC that kind of blew my mind. But essentially what I discovered is that these fractals, they set up for moves like far in advance by essentially segmenting fractals. So this right here is the macro fractal, and it's one of them. There's a bunch of them. But this is one of the macro fractals, and it actually sets up for a move here, but then it cuts it short. It stops it from happening. And this is another one. And this is the one that I used in the last video. And you remember how I said that when it gets to the end here, it just abruptly sort of changes direction? Well, I think there's a reason for that. And I think that we're going to see that this is actually sort of a trigger, right? So the reason is that if you were to follow this to its natural conclusion, it would be roughly the same height as, right, because this is accumulation, it'd roughly be the same height as the distribution to test for an SOS. But in all of these cases, they can't do it. They get cut short. The algorithm doesn't allow them to continue any further. And it's mainly because if they did, then you would have a breakout. Now, I know this sounds a little speculative, but you go watch the other AMC video today and see what I found. It blew my mind. It was a segmented fractal. They just stopped abruptly, and it kept iterating and repeating, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it pocketed them. And I had seen it happen before on AMC, and when it reversed, it was like all of those pocketed triggers were unveiled. So it was like you have an ABC, an ABC, an ABC, an ABC. But instead of doing ABC, 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 you go AB, 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 C, 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 C. So it's like if the A and the B can help you push the stock down and the C brings the stock back up, you can basically just iterate on A and B over and over and over again, and it like saves the C at that level. So once you hit that level again, it triggers that C. And I know it sounds a little crazy, But trust me, bro. Just trust me. No, go look at the AMC video. I'm not trying to get more views. I'm just telling you, like, I hopefully did a better job explaining it. My point is that I think that we have an ATER, like a ton of fractals that are incomplete. And my guess is that when we break $20 roughly, that there's a bunch more over here that are going to trigger as well. I've never been one to sort of make predictions because I just don't like it, but there's something about this particular discovery today that I'm just seeing it in all these meme stocks, and I really do think that it's the reason why these stocks like melt. They're using the segmented algorithm to help push it down, right? Because if they let it complete every time, then you would keep getting these positive moves, because the completion of the fractal is the positive move. And that potentially propels you upward beyond the original spike that we saw. And in addition to that, if you were to draw like a line over here, all right, this whole region from like, let me draw a box. Probably losing some of you now. But this whole region right here, yeah, probably to about right there. These are all incomplete fractal setups, and that's why you get these massive liquidity spikes. I know it sounds really bizarre. More on that later. My point is that I think if we were to be able to identify where these levels are, you would be able to identify, like, and a lot of times they're just fib retracement levels, like they're not that complex, but the so here's one, for instance. I'm fairly certain this is one right here. So when we hit $6.74, okay, we might see like a really big push, something like that, right? Up to at least $8. And it's just going to happen, and it's going to feel like FOMO when it happens, because the algo is allowing it to happen, right? And it's counting on the fact that it's going to bring in FOMO. And that's how I think in a lot of ways people get tricked into thinking a stock just goes up forever, because it's just playing out the same part of that sequence over and over again. That doesn't tell you anything about timeline. I don't have a timeline for us. I can't give you a timeline. I really do think that maybe Monday or Tuesday we get back out, but I think tomorrow is going to be red, very red. And if I'm wrong, great. Maybe tomorrow will be green. I really doubt it. I just can't see that happening based on everything I know. But yeah, beyond that, hope you all have a good one, and I will talk to you later.